Hello, I'm Connor Adair, and I am attending the University of Charleston virtually. Today, I will be covering the topic of burials throughout time. In this short video speech, I will be covering the following: pre-burial and post-burial, entombment, cremation, modern variations of both burial and cremation, and a new form of burial. There is believed to be a time before burial. This time would be before 130,000 years ago. During this time, bodies would be left to the elements to rot or be eaten by wildlife. Preceding 130,000 years ago, bodies began to be simply buried. In this process, a hole would be dug, a body would be placed in it, and then recovered with the dirt from the hole. Later on, a more advanced form of this was brought upon with caskets. Moving on from burial, there is entombment, a form of burial where a body would be put in a large monument. Some great examples of this were in Egypt, with their large monuments and pyramids to those of high status. The practice of entombment was believed to be started around 3150 BCE to 2613 BCE. This practice is still held present day with mausoleums. Another form of burial is cremation. Cremation is the practice of burning a loved one's carcass, and then having the ashes put into an urn. This practice was started in Europe around 3000 BC. There are also modern variations of both burial and cremation. Some examples of cremation are a loved one wanting their body to be made into art, or some people make their loved one's ashes, hair, or other fragments into jewelry or hold it in jewelry, such as lockets. Another variation of modern-day burial is termitation. Termitation is a process in which a body will be turned into fertilizer through the use of worms and other such fertile processes. The fertilizer of a loved one will then be used to make a plant and fertilize it, so that a loved one may be able to live through that plant in some form. There's also a new form of burial come upon us in this present day: cryogenic freezing. Freezing is a process where a body is frozen. In this process, the body will be fully frozen and then kept in stasis for a later date. The reason it's kept is because it is believed one day that we may have the ability to revive a body and even let us live even longer than how long we live now. It's also seen that some people are cryogenically frozen alive. The reasoning behind being cryogenically frozen alive is usually used by terminally ill patients. There are many diseases in our present day that are unable to be cured, and it's hoped that in the future they will be able to be cured. And so these people are cryogenically frozen in the hopes of a better future. Cryogenic freezing is not known whether or not to be a good practice as of now. I personally hold off. To cover my statements throughout, I have discussed many forms of burial and the times of these burials. There are also many forms of burials that have come upon us in the present day, such as termitation, art forms, and cryogenic freezing. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Thank you once again. This is Connor Adair.